Number one, you got to become aware. So the reflective work allows you to become aware. And then once you become aware, then it's time to really go, okay, what is the purpose and the intention behind this? Is it even working? Well, if it's not working and I don't enjoy it, then oh my gosh, do I delegate or do I just stop doing it? It's possible that someone else on your team would love to do that one thing that you don't like to do, and maybe you just delegate it. So, but giving yourself permission to really see things differently, I think is so important, which is why I love your book series title. I mean, like Rethink,
Right.
just stop and rethink for a moment.
That's right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Rethink Everything podcast. And I wore my glasses today. For those of you listening, you can't see. For those of you watching, you can. Because my good friend, Michelle Castle, always has fun glasses on. And I didn't want to be left out. And so we are looking the part today. And I'm excited for this episode, Michelle, because you're pretty great at everything you touch,
Hmm.
and you have an unbelievable business mind, and over the years getting to know you, and it when you said I want to write a book about business planning, it took me half a second to go, yes.
Let's do it.
Let's do that because you're unbelievable at what you do. And so for those that don't know you, before we jump into the book, give them 60 seconds of who is Michelle Castle.
So, you and I were just talking a while ago. I mean, I wear a lot of hats. So, if I were to say who is Michelle Castle, I do help people make really important moves in their life. But I do
Yep.
that in the mortgage space. I also do that just through coaching because I think life is about moving, right? So, I've been a mortgage lender for almost 30 years. And there was a point in time, and I wrote it in the book, where I thought, I've been doing this long enough. I'm kind of over it because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
But I've fallen back in love through the process, which is why I wrote the book. And then I also have been married for the last 30 years. And honestly, Cal, I know, the audience doesn't know. I nearly lost my husband a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've really refocused on family life and spending time together. So when you say, who am I really think about the family, the Mimi, the matriarch that I am as well, because I think that's just really important. And I do them both and I do them both well, but I also coach in the mortgage space and I've
Right.
really become, um, I facilitate a lot of masterminds and workshops locally for the business community. So, coach, mortgage lender, and Mimi to a really large family. I almost have a dozen grandkids.
Whoa.
It's so crazy to think, but yes. So, I'm a very busy woman with a
You,
lot of hats.
and typically what you just said would be the downfall of most people. Right? I think a lot of people would coach it to tell that person, because I've been that person and I didn't do it as well as you, and I still don't do it as well as you. But
Mm,
like, whoa, that's too many hats. What are
mm,
you doing? But for you, I think because you're so good at the planning piece of business,
it's all about the strategy.
you
Yeah.
have so many levers, you have all, so many things that are automated. And so
Hmm.
though on the surface it's like, golly, how does Michelle find time to do everything
Hmm.
that she does? It's because of the structure you've provided everything
Hmm. Hmm.
that allows you to flourish inside of it.
I was just talking to a friend of mine just a little bit ago. I had a couple of conversations this morning with, just some uh, people that were on my mind, and I reached out because they were. And I have learned to just follow your intuition. If someone's laid on your heart, reach out. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
But last night, I was Sunday evenings is when I really zoom out and look at my calendar as a week. And um, when I was zooming out and I was looking at everything that needed to take place this week to make sure that everybody and everything is taken care of, it got a bit overwhelming. Like I was like, holy, like, why am I trying to do all of this? Let's go back to the values and purpose of all of these things
Yeah.
that seem so important. They're on my calendar and go through them individually and do the values filter again. Okay, is there anything I need to delete? Is there anything I need to delegate? Or are these things that I need to do? And so, Kyle, to your point, I am very strategic and intentional with who and how and what and where. But because of that, it lends the space and the time and allows me to protect my energy so
Right.
that number one, I can be present in the moment. And number two, I have space for creativity
Yeah.
because processes and systems is not been something that was always natural to me.
Sure.
It's something I've learned that allows me to be who I am and to do all of the things. So it's the automation that creates the space for the creativity
Right.
and
Well,
allows me to maintain relationships
yeah.
in a sustainable way.
What do
So,
you think is the biggest difference? Michelle Castle in decade one
mm,
as a mortgage person, and
mhm.
then now Michelle Castle in decade three.
I really think for the first 2.5 decades, I tried being all things to all people
Mm,
and I never said the word no. Like I just would help anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place. And what I found is that in doing so, by me saying yes to everybody else, number one, I was saying no to myself. And
right.
number two, I was saying no to my family because it was easy enough for me to say yes to someone else instead of really paying attention to the effect that I had on my family by doing that. Kyle, I had health problems that were, um, I remember when I was first diagnosed 23 years ago, I really thought I was going to die. And I lived like I was dying for the first couple of years.
Well,
And I really did not, I spent a lot of time telling you my scleroderma, my rheumatoid arthritis, my lupus, like I claimed it as mine.
yeah.
And I I I say this right now. I have absolutely no disease in my body at
Thank
all.
God.
And that happened 2 years ago. But it wasn't until I learned to say no and I learned to protect my peace and my energy that that happened. Like
Mm,
I had to put myself first and take care of myself. And you can't do that without saying no.
yeah. How do you, because what you just said so profound, protect my peace and my energy. How how would you coach? Because you mentioned you coach, well, you've coached thousands of
Yeah,
people in
for
our
sure.
industry.
Yeah.
How how do you discover how to protect your peace and your energy? Like how do you decide, oh, like that activity is is actually
Yeah.
a draining
Mhm.
activity that
Mhm.
takes energy away from me? Like what does that process look like?
Um, I've got there's one lady I'm coaching right now, and gosh, it's so hard getting her to turn loose of the wheel. You know, when you're driving and you're holding that wheel so
Oh
tight
yeah,
that your knuckles are white. And that's how I feel she is about her business. She will not turn loose of that. She hasn't yet turned loose of the wheel.
sure.
She will. She just signed up for another 6 months. We're going to get her there because
That's
she's,
right.
she's starting to loosen up just a little bit. Um, I think you have to review from everything I do is on my calendar. And if you don't calendar everything, it's a little bit harder to do this. But I think you have to sit there and reflect on at least go back the last week
Yeah.
and go through how you spent every minute of every day and feel how you felt in that moment when you were with that person or doing that thing or in that place. Like you see me here today at my house. This looks totally different than my office.
Right.
But for me, I sat back a year ago and I made a conscious decision. I was dreading Mondays.
Mm,
And it wasn't the Mondays I was really dreading. I just wanted to ease into the week. And what would that look like? And if I allowed myself to rethink my calendar, because hell, I've been working for a long time and I just have it set in my head. You're supposed to be at work 8 to 5, Monday through
right.
Friday, blah, blah, blah. But when you're in the mortgage business, you're never not available, right? And so then you find yourself working around the clock. So I allow myself Mondays to work from my lake house where I can literally go sit outside and be with the trees and the squirrels and the birds and, ease
Yeah.
into my days. But that was a conscious decision looking at my calendar going, okay, what about last week did I dread? What was a joy filled moment? What was I doing? Who was I with? And then
So
what are
good.
just some of those times? I mean, it was okay,
Yeah.
but I really think you got to stop and assess.
That was a big thing for me, when we moved back to Dallas Fort Worth from Oklahoma.
Hmm.
I had just done networking after networking event after networking event after I mean, I was the king of networking,
Hmm.
and I hated it.
Hmm.
And by assessing my calendar and by going,
Mhm,
"Okay, last week I networked here, 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 and here.
mhm,
For the last quarter, I've been here, 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 and here. What's the fruit that's coming from those things?"
mhm,
And through asking those questions, ultimately, when we moved back to Texas, I gave myself permission to
mhm,
never attend a networking event ever again in my
mhm,
life.
mhm,
And it was such a weight lifted off my shoulders because
mhm.
I absolutely hated them.
Yeah,
But I felt like that was the only way that I could grow my business.
right. Yeah,
And if
it's
I
about
wouldn't have
different.
reflected, I couldn't have come to that conclusion.
And you said a word that I say often, and I think number one, you got to become aware. So
Yeah.
the reflective work allows you to become aware.
Yep.
And then once you become aware, then it's time to really go, okay, what is the purpose and the intention behind this? Is it
Right.
even working? Well, if it's not working and I don't enjoy it, then oh my gosh, do I delegate or do I just stop doing it? It's possible that someone else on your team would love to do that one thing that you
Right.
don't like to do, and maybe you
Absolutely.
just delegate it. So um but giving yourself permission to really see things differently I think is so important,
It's
which is
huge.
why I love your book series title. I mean, like, rethink.
Right.
Just stop and rethink for a
That's
moment.
right. So I have, for those of you watching, you can see it. For those of you on, listening to this, you can't see it, but I'm holding Michelle's newest book, Rethink Everything You Know About Business Planning. And, in most of our successful books so far, they've been a collaboration amongst a lot of smart people. Michelle, you're actually smart enough to write this one by yourself. You didn't need any contributors. And so I know this is a hard question that I'm about to ask you, because each of these chapters is kind of like one of your children. Like, you
Mhm,
love each
mhm,
one of them.
mhm,
But
mhm,
if I just picked up this book with the intention to read all of it,
mhm,
but I only had time to read one chapter,
mm.
is there a specific chapter that you would encourage me to flip to first?
Yes, because I think really if you stop and you just do the values exercise and you just allow
Okay.
yourself to really get clear about what are my values.
Yeah.
And what you'll find is you'll find so much clarity in why some things just don't feel right or why some relationships just don't work.
Yeah.
And for example, I'll give you an example. I'm working on a transaction right now, and communication and transparency is a big deal for me. Like, I don't care what your truth is, just be truthful. Like, I
Yeah.
don't care what you're about to tell me, just be honest
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And communicate clear, concise communication. Like, you know, you don't even have to fluff it. You just tell me like it is, but
Right.
communicate. And I'm doing a transaction right now, and I'm not in total control of the loan process. And I was like, man, why is this just really irking me? But when I go back to my values, I go, this won't ever work because what I value
Yeah.
is not what they value. And so it's not going to work. So I think getting really clear with your values, what's really important to you in your business and in your life, it will tell you so much about why things frustrate you and why things work so easy.
Yeah, it's huge. It,
So huge.
I think about. I bet most people would say that family is at the top of their values,
Yes.
right? But if we
But
looked at most people's calendar,
right.
there's a good chance that there is nothing on it
Mhm,
that represents what they would
mhm.
call the greatest value in their life.
Right. 100%. That realization came to me. I color code my calendar. And one of the biggest reasons I color coded I color coded my calendar because when I went through the value exercises 6 years ago, and I said that my family was important, and then I looked back on my calendar and I couldn't even tell you how
Mm,
much time and when or where I spent time with my family. Like they got what was left of me at the end of the day,
right.
if that. And so, color coding my calendar and my family being its own color allows me to look at a glance to make sure that I'm doing all for all. And as my family has grown, I've had to be more intentional about what does that mean. And I've written another workbook. It's the Living Lit workbook that's also on Amazon. And there's an exercise in that book where you get real clear about, okay, if I'm important to myself, and we all are, because if we aren't giving to ourselves, we have nothing to give to others, right? And so, if you were to do an exercise, what do I need to take care of myself? And then
Yeah,
you list it all out, put it on your calendar. What does my family need to feel important and valued? List it out, put it on your calendar. Same thing with your friends. You just go through that whole list and you really start prioritizing the
yeah,
people that really matter based on your values. It makes a big difference.
yeah. You can't pour from an empty cup,
Mm-mm,
and
no,
for the most part, we're the worst at filling our own cups,
right.
and so no
Well, you
wonder
feel
we
it's
end up burning out.
selfish, but it's not. It's selfless
Right.
whenever you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I just told my wife last night. I was like, "Honey, we need to go. Like, just rent a cabin a couple
Mhm,
hours away from here for the
mhm,
weekend, like, just you and
mhm,
I."
mhm,
And as much as she wanted to immediately go, "Yes," right? Of
mhm,
course, her mind goes to,
mhm,
"But what about the kids? And what about
mhm,
this? And what about that? And
mhm,
what about this? And
mhm,
what about that? And don't we have to do
mhm,
this and that?"
mhm,
And, it just it really breaks my heart, having had been a pastor for 10 years before all of this, just how many really just marriages
mhm,
end in shambles, not
mhm,
because they looked at each other and were like, "We
mhm,
don't like each other anymore,"
mhm.
but it's because they only poured themselves into others
Yep.
and they weren't investing in themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels like such an easy fix
I know.
to fix this pandemic
Mhm,
of half of marriages ending in divorce.
mhm. Yeah, it's just lost connection.
Yeah,
And sometimes the connection ties just get severed because of lack of attention.
right.
And that wasn't ever the intention in the first place. But
Well, I hope that there was a seed planted in a listener somewhere
mm,
during this episode that just gave them, enough angst to go, it's not in the worst place, but it's on its way there if I don't
mhm,
stop
mhm,
and really focus on this
mhm,
because it's so, so important. And so
mhm.
I hope everybody goes and picks up this book. You wrote it through the lens of mortgage because that's what you've spent most of your life doing, but it can help any business.
Uh, I'm working on right now. This is being book clubbed around the United States already, and it's the feedback has been incredible. I'm working on creating it in a way that I can teach it through our chambers to anybody in business, and of course, real estate agents and loan officers. I mean, this is helpful for anybody in business, whether you're
Right.
new to business or been in business, just to really think about how you're doing it, who you're doing it with,
Right.
why you're doing it,
That's right.
and then being more strategic and intentional with what is success look like for
Yeah.
you and how do I accomplish it? Yeah.
So good. All right, Michelle, my final question is random,
Okay.
but I've been on a kick on TikTok lately
Huh,
where I've been watching these videos of celebrities talking about their last meal,
okay.
what their last meal would be.
Mm,
And so, my question to you
what
is,
would my last
what
meal
would
be?
your last meal consist of? And it doesn't have to be a singular meal from a singular place. It could be this appetizer from this place, it could be this homemade thing that my family's made, but what would be your last
Well,
meal?
how long after my last meal am I living? Because it depends on whether or not indigestion is okay.
Yeah, no, you're gonna die, like, an hour after you
Oh,
eat it.
so I can eat whatever I want and it won't
That's
matter.
right. That's right.
Oh, I would go fried food probably. No, I would probably do a steak, loaded baked potato, and a salad as my last meal. Just keep it simple,
And how do you take your steak?
medium.
Okay. Certain cut that
Oh, I like a ribeye best.
yeah, it's good.
I like yeah, I like that fatty stuff.
And then on a baked potato, do you have a is there a place that does your favorite baked potato?
No, I do them at home best.
Because my favorite go ahead.
I learned this weekend, my daughter was talking about, she microwaved the baked potato with oil on it and then finished it off in the air fryer to have that crisp outside.
We do air fryer baked potatoes.
Okay.
They're
All right.
great.
I'll have to try that. You're the second person that
But my favorite now I can recreate it at home as well, but Outback Steakhouse
oh.
does the salt on the outside of the
Oh,
baked potato,
yes.
and
Yes.
so then you actually wanna eat the
You
skin,
eat the skin too, yeah.
and they have my favorite ranch. It's incredible.
Is it the runny ranch?
Ah, it's so good.
So good.
Um, well,
Yeah. Okay.
guys,
That's a wrap.
thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Michelle, I appreciate you. Thanks for being a part of this movement with us.
Absolutely.
Go
I
pick
want some
up
feedback. I want people to hit me up and tell me how this
That's
changed
right.
their
Go
way of
go
doing
pick
business.
up Rethink Everything you know about business planning. Check it out.
Yeah.
Give us feedback, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.